Hello everyone, so I promised last week that I'll answer in depth to your questions about my experience in Spear PDR course. Before I start, I want to make a disclaimer. So I'm very fresh at this. While I'm becoming an instructor, or I'm an instructor officially in the Spear system, the Spear system encourages you to always keep on developing, and there's way more experienced instructors than I am. So I'll just answer my take from what I see, but don't take my answers as final answers. If you want the best information, then look at Tony Blauer, the founder himself, or other instructors from the course who can have better answers. But I'll just share my experience, especially in relationship to my Aikido experience and the whole martial arts journey that you come to know of. So I'll read the comments specifically, straight and out loud. So one comment, Mohsin Lala, he's a great guy. Seen a lot of on my channel. He offers great comments all the time. We'll have a few of them here. So, sense and simplicity is the key to survival in a culture. Why would people shit on the system for not being sexy? That's something I said, that maybe people are criticizing Spear for not being as sexy. But it's so this is kind of a rhetorical question, but I decided to talk on it. You know, why people would not consider it to be sexy. My short answer: people are egotistical. People have big egos. People want to look fancy. They want to show what they're capable of. They don't want to. They don't want to go to simplicity. Oftentimes, they want to be unique. And why I really appreciate the Spear system, because even in the instructor's course, there's an important principle that is being said early on, that is taught early on, that you have to show what your students can do, not what you can do. So I think most instructors have a difficult time in just coming down to earth and presenting to the students what they can do, and that's why they're not happy if the system is not as sexy. Now, to continue on, Paul Archity wrote, Rokas, looks like you had an amazing experience. I think awesome that you are questioning your first impression. Now, to come to the question first, do you think that something you've learned from Aikido was useful to understand the Spear concepts, so that you can integrate some of Aikido with that? So that's his first question. It's a great question. Yes, definitely yes. Before I went to the Spear course, I had a lot of doubts. I had a lot of doubts about my Aikido, especially after the second Aikido or Semi experience. I was about to drop it completely, but then during the Spear course, I saw, while it's very different, and I still am very, very clear that martial arts, I'm clearly in the side of martial arts, are not self-defense. But after the course, I felt inspired to re-look at my Aikido training to see how it can blend. And yes, I do see some blending points. Like in the Aikido, we do have arms which are out, extended, fingers splayed, which is connected to the Spear stance. There's some other relationships which I'm going to talk about in my channel in the future. So yeah, definitely, it re-inspired me to look at Aikido again and to see how I can reinvent my Aikido for it to be more functional. And also, did Aikido help me to train it? For sure. Aikido taught me a lot of complex motor skills, coordination, understanding how to perceive a difficult movement and to reproduce it on the most subtle details. And that helps in learning any physical activity. That gives me an edge as a student. So whenever the instructor showed something, I would be able to pick it up fairly fast, I believe, because I have that prior conditioning to learning. So I think that was a good case, since Aikido really drilled it into me. Second, do you know Spear has some branch in Brazil? I checked through the list of their affiliates. I did not find anything in Brazil. I would still encourage you to reach out to the staff, to the team, ask them directly, check yourself, and who knows, maybe there is, but there's definitely branches all over the world, so I think you should double check. Next question, Intus Facultas. I'd love to hear you go through your older videos and some of your newer ones with what you learned from this, and discuss how you agree, disagree, see things in a new light based on the principles you learned in the Spear PDR system. Just wanted to read this comment because I think it's a great suggestion. Thank you for the suggestion. I'll look into it, and probably I'll do a video later on about that. Cody Cannon, are you sparring in this Spear system? I'm curious to hear what is different from this and other self-defense systems. So first of all, sparring. There's no sparring as most sparring goes, because the Spear system is very clear about that it's not a combat sport. It's not working. In my understanding, it's not working primarily on consensual fights, on consensual duels. So it's not let's do this, which is where sparring comes into a bit more. It works more with an ambush, with an unpredicted attack, which has a different dynamic. It's more about those first few seconds, first 30 seconds, while sparring lasts longer. I do enjoy sparring, and I think sparring is a great way of pressure testing, of developing. And Spear does have a way of pressure testing. It has what is called a high gear, with these big suits, kind of like an armor, which can take in, as far as I know, 100% of impact, and then that's the final training. That's one of the final methods of training you do. I barely did it. We didn't have enough time to do that, and I think it's more for the advanced realms. I can't say exactly, but the thing is, definitely Spear has the scenario training where another person dressed in a high gear, and I think you also dressed up in a high gear, and you go into the scenario and you really go all out. The attackers all out, you're all out, so you really get as close as possible and experience a real close encounter, and you have that pressure testing aspect, because nobody's taking care of you and you're not taking care of the other as much as we do in this, let's say, dry training. So yes, in a sense there is sparring. I think you probably mean is there's pressure testing, and that the answer is yes, in my understanding. I'm curious to hear what is different from other self-defense systems. There's so many different things. I could just go on and on. I talked about it in the review, but just to put a few points, as far as I see, most self-defense systems, they look only at the physical aspect, only with what happens when the physical started. But Spear is very intelligent, very wise to look at everything before that. So how does an attacker approach? How does he interview? How does he close the distance? What are the cues, early cues for you to know that he might attack? So how does he develop an attack, where it comes from, the whole psychological aspect, the whole internal aspect of fear management. So there's just so much which most self-defense systems, in my understanding, do not cover. They're just about, he hits you, you hit back this way. So I think that's a big difference. Also, it works from a regular stance, from a non-violent posture, which is, I think, also unique and very great, because you won't hit a clear stance all the time when you defend yourself. So I could name more, but these are a couple of ideas. Even something that is like Krav Maga or any martial art. I was hoping you could go into some depth instead of the vagueness that is going on right here in the video. Sorry for the vagueness. There's just so much, and I don't want to spend all the video talking about it, but also there's more qualified people to talk about that than me. Hopefully those couple of answers help you out to understand what it is. And also, just the last thing, so more clearness would be, the Spear recognizes that you will flinch when you will be ambushed, and most combat systems, most self-defense systems, you go straight in a defensive position as if you know that the person is going to attack. The Spear recognizes that you won't know in many cases that the person will attack. You will be surprised, and you actually train that surprise moment, and then you weaponize it. So meaning, it's really great on that level, because you are training it as real as possible. Plus there's scenario training, where the verbal is included, the audio, you grunt, you resist, and you imitate the whole conflict. So it wouldn't be just, I'm standing here, I punch you, you defend, but you really get a nice taste of what might happen in a real setting. So those are a few moments. Voided T, don't you see a lot of similarity between the flinch response and many Aikido entering responses to an attack? Yes, I do. I feel they're different, but yes, I see a connection. Natural flinch is very different from Spear flinch. Watch your first MMA sparring. I'm just going to skip through a bit. Spear flinch is not natural. It must be trained to overcome natural fear instinct and enter the attacker's space instead of looking away. Yes, this is exactly what Aikido does. It trains you to enter when the mind wants you to withdraw. If you think Aikido is bullshit, then Spear must be too. I see your point. I kind of agree with you, but not entirely. Why? Because, as I just mentioned before, the spear flinch, the spear includes the flinch into training. You let yourself experience it. You let yourself imitate it, and so yeah. And in Aikido, you don't include the flinch. You know the attack which is going to happen. You stand there in a ready stance. The attack is coming, and then you enter. So it's very much set up. In the spear, you give yourself the permission to have an unknown attack, the permission to have pressure, resistance. There's just so much extra there, which is not included in the Aikido training. And while there's similarity, I'm not saying Aikido is bad as an entirety. I'm criticizing the training methods of Aikido. So while Aikido has some good concepts, as that entering of Irimi, which in a sense Spear does too, Spear takes the entering in a realistic way, while Aikido, in my perception, in my experience, is too much dry in too many cases, where it's too clean, which a real life encounter is not going to be clean, and you have to train for that messiness, and Aikido doesn't. So this is my critique for it, not the other way around. Ginger Course 69. Nice video. I wonder if the system can be used in MMA. It doesn't seem like it is its focus at all. No, it's definitely not its focus. It's very clear. Spear is very clear that it's a self-defense system based on real violent encounters, on CCTV footage. It's not about consensual fight where you stand face to face and you're like, okay, let's do this. It's more about ambush and predicted attacks, which are the most dangerous, which is about self-defense. If you are into consensual battle, into consensual fights, then it's your problem because you have a big ego. But unless it's sports is different. But still, sports is a consensual fight. So definitely. Spear's focus is on a different part, but I did see that there's a whole tutorial, a whole video you can buy about how to include Spear in the MMA, and I did hear more than once that some UFC fighters are actually training with Spear trainers, and they include some of the Spear techniques in their fights. So I think they can be blended. I'm pretty sure they can be blended, but the core focus of Spear is not MMA. Mohsin Lala, that was on another video, he wrote another comment. Hey Rokas, could you please share your classes outside of Aikido? I'm confused as to what you're doing. You do BJJ and MMA, striking at two separate places, correct? And the BJJ place is sports oriented. Great questions. Thank you, Mohsin, for encouraging me to do that. I'm planning to film my trainings. First of all, I'm going to film my private training because right now I'm mainly training privately with my MMA coach. I do BJJ and MMA in the same place. Yes, I'll film them and you'll see it. The BJJ I train, as far as I perceive it, yes, it's mainly sports oriented. We do a lot of preparation for competitions. We do a lot of, the gym does a lot of competition, goes pretty much to all of them around the area. And the self-defense aspect is not really included. How to defend against strikes is not talked about as far as the classes I've been to. It was never spoken about, and the self-defense aspect was rarely talked about. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but yes, the gym is more sports oriented. But I'll do my best to film some footage for you to see. Cody Cannon, I think it's another video he wrote on. Considering your experience trying Aikido out with MMA and BJJ, what makes Spear different to you? Why are you choosing Spear versus something else? Unless you're experimenting with seminars on different systems, which is definitely cool. I love going to seminars in martial arts I have never, or I'm not an expert in. So to answer Cody, what makes Spear different to me? I kind of answered this in relation to your previous comment, but why am I choosing Spear versus something else? Because Spear is a very big rounded package, and I very clearly understood that most systems give you just a small piece of the puzzle, just how to defend against a certain level of an attack, a certain type of of fighting, whether it's just grappling or whether it's just stand-up fighting, whether it's just working on takedowns. And most systems do not include the reality side of how does the verbal aspect go on, how do you manage your fear, which is a very big thing. How do you understand when you are getting into a threatening situation? It's just, there's just so much which is not covered, and Spear does cover that. So when I train Spear, I don't only get the physical aspect, but I get a much better understanding of how violence works. I become much more guided and inspired into understanding the whole package, and that's just such a big thing for me. I'm still very much in love and with BJJ and MMA. They're high on my priority list, but I am keeping them a bit separate. So I see my BJJ, my MMA coming in after the initial spear moment of getting that weaponized flinch in there, the spear stance. There's the closest weapon, closest target approach of Spear, where you just dash the person down, which I think is very effective. I feel it's very effective. I want to train that more. But I sometimes, even when I did the imitations of some attacks with attackers, I would start off with the spear and then I would go into a guillotine. I would go into a choke. That's BJJ is definitely what I would use on the ground. So there's the front kick is awesome, and there's so many things which I am implementing from MMA and BJJ, but just I feel that Spear gives me a bigger rounded package, and that's why I really give so much focus to it right now. And yes, I'm experimenting with different systems. That's not my priority. I'm not planning to go to all of those, just mainly because of finances, because it's such a difficult thing to pull off. But if I ever have a chance to go to different seminars, compare them, for sure, I'd love to do that. Mohsin Lala, what do you think of this as a post-spear combo? Spear, atemi, takedown, throw. Sure, definitely sounds good. There's so many combos which can go into it, but the spear, it's definitely the spears first, and then atemi, takedown, throw definitely makes sense because the person is unbalanced. He just got in the face. A takedown is more easier to do. Awesome. And I was talking about haters, and so Mohsin asks, you have a lot of haters? I thought there was just like one or two. Most people are positive, even if they're skeptical, right? Also, how many spear haters do you know of that actually have fully trained and applied the system before? So the second part is awesome. Very good point. Most people who train Spear, who criticize Spear, probably never tried it. So, you know, that's how people work. So that's, the criticism suddenly becomes much weaker. In terms of my haters, yes, I actually don't have too many. Not all of them are on YouTube. Some of them are on Facebook. Some of them I banned. There's some people I know who hate me, literally. So I do have my share. And as human beings, we have a tendency to focus on the negative. So if there's 50 positive comments and 5 negative comments, you will feel down because of them. That's just how the mind works. So sometimes they overwhelm me, but I'm doing my best to stay positive and to look and focus on the positive side. But I do get my share of haters in between as well. But clearly, percentage-wise, they're not the big ones. So 3 more comments left. Drome, useful. Rokas, you look stronger, man. Congrats. Are you working out for BJJ MP purposes? Yes, I do. Thank you for noticing. I train pretty much every day. Also doing cardio, doing strength training, conditioning. So yeah, I'm happy it's visible. Pericles Romero, are you going to post a sparring session using Spear? Probably not, because Spear is not designed for sparring. It's more about the initial moment of the attack, and then you go straight in. Either you run away if you can, or you just bash the person to bits and pieces when you have that moment of him being confused. So that doesn't really apply to sparring. Hopefully one day I'll do a high gear training, pressure testing, where the attacker is going to wear full armor, I'm going to wear full armor, and that's where I'm going to go all in. But I'll need time to get the high gear before that. A Scorpion, have you experienced any training with or in Systema? No, I haven't. I'm skeptical about Systema as far as I saw it, as far as I talked to people about it, and the information I collected. I have some flaws in it. They do seem to have a lack of pressure testing, but of course I have to be humble when speaking about it because I have not trained it directly. I would like to try it, but I have to say I'm a bit skeptical about it. And the last comment, Jean-Michel Brassard. By the way, in your videos, you didn't say the price for the seminar in Scotland. It's pricey, but I don't know if I should be the one telling the price. Just check out the website. I'm sure you're gonna find the price, but there is a price. Also, you talked about a second level. How many levels there are? Just two. There's only two levels, first and second, which I think is great. Spear does not have black belt systems. It doesn't have, you have to train for 20 years only. Then you can defend. The first level is plenty for you, and I think the second one is just for more advanced people, practitioners, maybe officers. I'm not sure exactly how it works yet. I'm interested in the second level, so I'm gonna get down to it. But there's only two levels as far as I know. Can you teach Spear only after 3 days of training? So that's a great question. In a sense, it's a yes and no answer. Officially, yes, but do note there's a few important moments. First of all, primarily, as far as I understand it, primarily the Spear PDR trainer's course is first of all dedicated to self-defense trainers and martial arts instructors. So meaning you're encouraged to have background experience before. So for example, right now I have 14 years of Aikido experience. There's BJJ, there's some MMA there. I'm very much investing a lot of time right now in understanding how self-defense works as well. So I went there not just zero to hero. I really had prep before. So and most instructors, most people who were there, they were like NATO soldiers, self-defense instructors, Krav Maga instructors. They all had backgrounds. So I'm sure that you're much better off teaching it when you have a base, and you're encouraged to have that base. On another side, the Spear system was really well done. That a few weeks before, just when I registered, I got a lot of material that I had to read, a lot of drills that I had to try out before I went there. I was encouraged to read and look for as much material as I can, so that when I went there, and as much as everyone else, we already had a good understanding of what's happening. So it wasn't just like we know nothing and then we become super instructors, but we already were preparing for that. And also what I love most is that Spear doesn't tell you, oh, now you know everything, that's it, but it encourages you to continue to develop. It tells you that, it explains to you very clearly that you just got some basic, you got some fundamentals to start with, but it's an endless journey, and it encourages you to go through that journey. It supports you in it. There are forums, there's kind of support groups, calls with Tony Blauer for instructors. There's so much where you keep on developing yourself, and you're encouraged to participate again in courses. The certification lasts only for 2 years unless you do another course. So it's definitely very clear about that this is just the beginning, and it also encourages you, it gives you, after you finish the course, it gives you a whole instructional text on tips on how to start teaching, how to develop classes, and it encourages you to not rush, to first find some close people, close friends that you start training with, then you get comfortable with them, and only then you invite new people. So it's very clear about, you don't go just, as I said, from zero to hero. It's just giving you fundamentals so you can teach, but you're encouraged to do it in a smart way. So yeah, that sums up my Q&A. Hopefully I answered most of your questions. If you have more, let me know. Some great videos are coming up. Monday I'll be releasing, imagine that, a CCTV video of Aikido used in a real setting. So wow. So that's gonna happen. I'm gonna share my personal trainings, so a lot of nice things. There's some great talks I have, so much to come. And yeah, so make sure you subscribe, like the video, comment, tell me what you think, and I'll surely see you on the virtual net again soon.